A very good morning, dear participants. So we are waiting for Dr. Manjunath sir. He will be joining shortly. So again, we will start at 9:30. In the meantime, I would like to go through the feedback of yesterday's session. So yesterday's morning session, I received a very interesting feedback. One feedback is a session like this is a mandatory thing in all FDPs. I completely agree. And that is the reason AICTE wants one session specifically for stress management. Right? And changing the attitude. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes. Okay. All right. So there are a few more comments. I would like to just quickly go through it. Very useful topics. It has shown a new dimension in day-to-day life. Definitely, I agree with that because with all the stress around us, taking classes, doing the research, publishing papers, applying for proposals, funding, a lot of things are going on. We need to systematically arrange all the activities to be successful in this profession, and it carries the same stress level as the industry. If not more, at least the same. So definitely, these sessions are helpful. Stress management, and this will improve our skill too. Yes, definitely. But for all the participants, I was expecting more communication, between you and speakers that would help, even speakers to realize that, okay, you are all also interested and to, talk to you and share their knowledge. Definitely all the speakers, what we had till yesterday and today, what you are going to have, they are all incredibly great speakers with great experience, right? So these moments that we spend with them, so that is very rare, and all of us should utilize the opportunity and discuss with them. Whatever doubt you have, you want to talk to them. Simply, it's okay. We are a closed community in which like-minded people are there with open-mindedness. So these discussions will help us to develop in our profession, not only in terms of technical aspects, but also in terms of spiritual and a psychological point of view, right? So overall presentation is informative. Good. So these are all few feedbacks. I appreciate your effort in writing the feedback. Thank you all. So now it's 9:30. We will start the session. I hope Manjunath sir is there. Sir.
Yeah, I'm online. Sorry, I muted myself.
No problem. So dear participants, I welcome you all to this 5-day faculty development program on electric vehicles. So today is the 5th day, and the morning session we have with us Dr. GL Manjunath. So he finished his BE in mechanical engineering in 2007 from UBDT, and then in 2016 he finished his MS and a PhD from IIT Madras. Then later on he joined as a postdoctoral fellow in IIT Madras, Then in 2016, he joined as a project manager in Superwave Technology Private Limited, incubated at IISc Bangalore. Then from 2017 to 19, he was postdoctoral associate in Geosystems Engineering and Multiphysics Lab, University of South California, USA. Then from 2020 to 21, he is a postdoctoral fellow, the RAK Institute of Physics, the Hebrew University, Israel. And from 2021 till date, he is a visiting faculty in the Energy Institute, Bangalore, India. So to his credit, he has 5 patents and 11 plus peer-reviewed journal publications. So he received numerous fellowships during his PhD and postdoctoral research. And he was also among the 2% of candidates during GATE 2009, the top 2%. Right. With this brief introduction, I welcome Dr. G.L. Manjunath to this session. Welcome to the session, sir. Please take the platform.
Yeah, thank you, Adarsh, for the introduction, and good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
So today I will be giving a talk regarding the impact testing of the electric vehicle battery. So can I share my presentation?
Sure, sir, sure. You can. Yes.
Okay. So first of all, to start with, I just wanted to mention that how give a very brief introduction and then move forward. So why this impact testing of electric vehicle batteries is so important? The fundamental reason behind is the testing of this batteries in laboratory will help us to understand how vulnerable and try to understand its vulnerable abilities, and we can then try to improve the safety of lithium-ion batteries used in electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. So with this question of how to improve the design and how to improve mainly the characteristics of the battery in such a way so that we can reduce the risk of human life. So with this, let's start today's presentation. So the important question, what I would ask the audience is, why everybody talks about lithium-ion batteries, and of course they're attractive because of the power sources. But again, why do you think that the lithium-ion batteries are so attractive? Is what made it really affordable, or like people think that it is the future and it can replace the conventional oil and gas in the market? So, okay.
Participants, you can unmute and you can speak.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing is, in comparison to oil and gas, like normal conventional vehicles which uses oil and gas, the first thing
sir, we have one response in the chat section.
Yeah.
Lithium-ion batteries are compact per kilowatt-hour power. That is one reason.
Okay.
Maintenance free.
So yeah. Okay. So thank you for the response. I think I have to. So initially, to start with, basically in the design point of view, when you start understanding this electric vehicle battery thing, so first thing what comes to mind is lightweight. So they are light in weight, and in comparison to other vehicles, they have a upper edge there, and it will definitely reduce the because the self-weight is less of the vehicle, the mileage increases, and it is easy to maintain as well. So another important thing is they're fully rechargeable, And again, there is a big debate going on about this particular rechargeable ability of the lithium-ion battery. But still, they think that initially, for certain span of years, they can perform to their full ability. And then comes like everybody in the market, they feel that it can store a lot of energy in a small volume. So all these things make it attractive. But the one more drawback of or the downside of this particular lithium-ion battery is uh, it gets overheated, and even like when there is an impact or collision takes place, in comparison to the conventional two-wheeler or a four-wheeler what we use, where the conventional oil and gas is being used. So the risk of electric vehicle getting damaged or even like it, when there is a collision, it leads to kind of a short circuit inside the vehicle and even bursting of the vehicle. And these are very complex issues in comparison. And recently, to just give an example of my own experience, like after coming from Israel, when I was driving in Bangalore, the traffic is crazy in Bangalore. So it was a little bit tough for me to adapt here. So once what happened, like I was going behind the BMTC bus, and suddenly he stopped without any notice, and uh, I tried to control my vehicle, but still I couldn't control and went and bumped. So the problem here is what I understood was that time, like with this conventional vehicle, even with such a crash of maybe 30, 40 kilometers, even I survived without any problem. But this is not the same. And there is a key term which they use to represent this phenomena, and that is called as thermal runaway, which I will discuss in upcoming slide. So this really makes it a tough challenge for the people in the industry and in academia to come up with novel techniques where they can, you know, increase the ability of this failure ability of this lithium-ion battery in such a way that we can use it in many commercial applications without thinking about its failure aspects. So the first very important question what we have to ask the engineers as a scientist, like we need to understand these mechanical properties and the physical limitations which are existing in the market. Then only we can push their limit. So this is a very important question which we have to ask ourselves, and because of which the topic of today's session is being discussed. So still there is a knowledge gap of how this failures takes place and how the physical limits of these batteries can be pushed to a level where it becomes very commercially usable, and you can completely replace the oil and gas vehicles in the market. And being a guy from geomechanics area of research, I shouldn't say this, but this definitely will, power the future. And as per the Paris Law Agreement, which we have entered, so we have to reduce the global warming or the temperature of the entire Earth by 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade in coming 10 to 15 years. So keeping all this in mind, and this is definitely the future. And also developing of lithium-ion batteries is not only limited to electric vehicle technology. Even in mining industry, it has a huge application to play. And even in oil and gas sector also, it has a huge application to play. So all in all, if you think it has a problem, it is really a very global problem and global issue, which I would like to ask the audience to pursue their career in this area of research. So let's start with a brief introduction, like a very generalized introduction of why we are interested in understanding this impact mechanics thing of batteries. So pushing the battery to a limit, uh, especially in a dynamic condition, the material properties are we understand the response of the material much better than when they're subjected to static. So in upcoming slides, I will try to give a difference between the static experiment and how the dynamic experiment are a little bit, tricky to do, and how they will be really useful. Because dynamic things, when they come into play, the factor of safety also increases. So if we are pushing the material or the battery to their extreme limit, really come up with a novel design technique where we can redesign in a way that in the upcoming generation can use these batteries without any problem, and also we can push the resilience of these batteries. So this is a very important thing, and because of which still, even though the great promises showed by the batteries are not being fully commercialized because of these setbacks. So we have to redesign the battery, and we have to think about how to come up with the design. And this is a very important thing, and I think it opens up a lot of interesting questions for upcoming researchers and students. So another thing is like now to even redesign or perform a very reliable kind of battery thing, we need to come up with very novel experimental techniques and even computational methods where we can try we can get a good mixture between the experimental thing what we do in the lab and the computational thing. So what helps us is when we try to uh, mimic this realities if they happen on the road, it really helps us to understand the risk factor when the collision is happening from the front side and the side from the rear and even the side collision. Because in case of a vehicle where battery comes into picture, these things like the direction of collision really matters. And sometimes what happens is like the combination of this might also happen. So that is a catastrophe, right? So it really even might lead to something like breaking of vehicle into two parts. So this really is a very challenging thing, and understanding these issues are really helpful because in future maybe all these vehicles might be used in defense sector or even in other space sectors, and also the understanding all this deformation parameters with respect to uh, different combination of loading is a very important problem which need to be addressed right now. So many researchers in the field, and also like for example in MIT they have a battery consortium. So they have come up with one philosophy that in order to increase the battery reliability, it is very important to understand the casing of the battery. So if the casing of the battery becomes more ductile or flexible, it really reduces the chance of short circuiting and even leading to the failure or some kind of blowouts or also. So this is a very interesting problem what was coined by researchers from MIT. So this like in the upcoming slide I will be discussing few articles published by this group from MIT, and we'll try to understand like why they felt that the battery casing was a very important thing to understand in comparison to any other parameters. So because the application part is a very important thing compared to the fundamental science part which comes inside the battery. So both are two different aspects. So because of which when it comes to the application part, the engineers have a critical role to play in comparison to the scientists who work on just understanding how the chemical reactions happen inside the battery. So now the very important question what many designers in the field of batteries felt was how to predict the battery runaway. So basically thermal runaway is a term used to describe the case of catastrophe, fire and smoke. So Now, whatever you design in this field of batteries, the short circuit happens and leads to catastrophic fire and smoke. So, to represent this thing, they have come up with one term called thermal runaway. So, and also another important thing associated with thermal runaway was, if you test a single battery and if you test a multiple battery, what's the difference? Because initially, when the impact testing was performed on the batteries, they were all going for a single battery. But later, they realized that it is not the case, because in a vehicle you have multiple, parallel or like stacked batteries are also there. So how the failure occurs in those, like how failure in a one battery will affect the failure in other battery, and how the protective housing is need to be done in a way that it can be used for long term. So these are the questions which triggered research in this field. And now, apart from being developing experimentally very sound techniques, the computational also plays a key role, and also it reduces your effort in redesigning of these batteries. So this is a very important thing which is need to be considered, and also testing this batteries at static and dynamic has a different type of implications on the design, which we will discuss in the upcoming slide. So as you are aware of, like there are many battery packs which are in T configurations, and these are some of the examples how the batteries are set. And these are battery packs under the floor. So where like they have kept batteries under the floor and they have stacked it in a way. And you can see like when they have put the battery in the base, now there is a issue, because you have to really take care of the casing of these batteries, because in a country like India, where the roads are not very well designed in comparison to Western countries, so here it becomes a little bit challenging and tricky as well. So again, as I told, redesigning and protective of this entire battery system is a big task. So the big one question here, what we have to understand is, again, so in order to understand the big picture of what happens inside a battery when it is subjected to complex loading, it is important to understand also like how the battery behaves inside. Like when we apply a load outside on a battery, how the battery behaves inside. Means when they say jelly roll is nothing but the chemicals which are stacked inside this battery. And here what happens is, like when we apply a load externally, now this leads to some kind of internal reactions, and also leads to short circuiting and blow up. So now it is very important to understand how things happen at a smaller scale. So understanding things at smaller scale is really important. Why? Because you can really develop your constitutive models, the thing, and then you can integrate it to the big picture. So these are the important aspects. So if we are able to understand how this chemicals which are stacked inside this battery behaves, like shown here. So this is what I mean by the jelly roll inside the battery, where you have a casing externally and chemicals which are stacked one on another inside this casing. Now, when we apply a load on this particular battery outside, like here, now there are some kind of internal reactions which takes place while application of this load. So maybe these layers, because it is layering, the application of this load, maybe they might slide here and there. And because of the sliding of chemicals inside this battery structure might lead to some kind of failures, right? And this also leads to other type of mechanism, like application of one particular type of stress or loading. It doesn't mean that you are constrained to one particular type of failure, because it is layered. There are like different type of mechanics which takes place, and it was interesting to see that when you press this sample up and down, there is so much of internal stresses which take place at this layers that it leads to delamination. We'll discuss this in the upcoming slide. But when you subject it to the dynamic loading, again, you don't see the same thing. It is a very different phenomenon, right? So in that case, when the this particular sample was hit with a projectile, kind of a bullet, you can see that it just shears this entire thing, and the failure is like something like threaded wires. And this is completely different than what we observe in a conventional static experiment. So it is really important to uh, do an experiment where we clearly understand how the material behaves statically and dynamically, or like impact and the phenomenon. So now, as I discussed earlier, a very big challenge in this field is like perform a test and integrity of the whole battery pack, right? So this is not that simple as it looks, because research going on in understanding this scaling of phenomena. Because in any kind of research, whether it is geophysics, geology, or a, even mechanical or a civil engineering or any part of science, the big question is always like, okay, we do something in the lab scale, but what happens when we apply it to the field scale? Right? So these are very important. So which we need to understand, and also this is a great challenge for the like scientists and engineers working in the field. Upscaling is not a small thing. So it has been more than a century and a half. Still, people are struggling to understand how, to correlate how the lab scale can be correlated to the field scale. And the equations which have been developed also, they are not suitable. So if anybody is interested, I think this is one area of research or a challenge which you can take it, and you can come up with something really great. So yeah, upscaling, it doesn't like, there are many researches going on, like even nowadays, like many researchers, they even work on pico scale and try to understand what happens at that scale, and even like nanoscale. Nanoscale, everybody knows it was one of the fantastic area of research which was invented, and then micro scale and the holistic macro scale or the field scale. So still, scaling is not that easy, and apart from scaling, in case of battery, it becomes extremely challenging because we are talking about the integrity of the batteries. So this is another big thing, and this another uncertainty which comes into picture is your the jelly roll, like chemical mixture inside this battery. So this is really one of the important things which need to be understood clearly, and this opens up many doors for its lithium ions commercial applications as well. So the batteries work when the lithium ion travels across each separating layers, as you see in the picture, creating a current. But when the separator is compressed by the force generated by the impact, this is the important thing what you have to understand. Here, this loading uh, causes the short circuit. So that is the reason, even when they do laboratory experiment, they make sure that 90 to 95% of the charge in the battery will be discharged, and only 5 to 10% is kept, and then they do a experiment, whether it is static or dynamic, because or else it leads to kind of explosion. And there was one of the study where even they came up with the casing, and they tried to put this battery inside this casing. They performed the experimentation for that as well. So now the main question again, what we have to ask here is the resilience of this battery when it has been subjected to crushing type of loads. So in the upcoming slide, I will discuss two important testing methods. One is like applying the load with the metallic plate on the entire battery surface, and in another case, something like a dent on the lithium-ion battery. So these two type of testings are used for just mimicking what really happens during a crash. And this uh, experiment was performed for a single battery, and then in some cases it was applied for multiple battery also. So the impact test has a little bit upper hand in this type of experiment because it can be apple conditions. Now, so this is one example where the battery was short circuited and the entire vehicle, during a what to say like vehicle accident, the entire thing got short circuited and it just blowed up. So why this happened again? Mainly because the thermal runaway. This leads to a catastrophic failure, and because of which this entire thing just blown up. So the main pressing problem in this particular battery research is the issue of electrical vehicle safety will be a more pressing problem. So again, we have to think about designing these batteries for safety purposes because, as I discussed in the beginning, the collision, whether it is a front, rear or even side collision, it really matters in case of a battery electric vehicle, less conventional vehicle, because if like 10% or 20% of the impact experienced by the vehicle leads to this kind of blow because of the change in the or the short circuiting which happens inside the battery during the application of the load. So another important question here is like the EV systems need to be intrinsically safe on the lowest level of the component. So our question on the smallest building. So we have to make sure that this small building block is designed in the safest manner so that the entire vehicle is performing as we anticipated and without any failures and risk for the owner. So this is a very challenging aspect. So concentrating the research on the smallest building block really helps us to come up with scaling of this vehicle in a safe manner, and you can see a lot of applications in future. Okay, so the one question which I would like to ask here audience before moving forward is, do you really think that and do like is it possible that virtually we can design a battery which is risk free? Can you, are we connected? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, audience, do you really think that if you come up with, like, you can design a battery which is 100% risk free? Do you really think?
Participants, I think you can answer or you can reply via chat, or I think you can unmute and speak, please. We have Kishan who is responding possibly yes, with the advent of research going on in the field. Manjunath sir?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yeah, it's an interesting observation. Thank you, Kishan. But the one important thing what I would like to is anybody want to say anything? I can see. Okay, so the thing is what the experts and many people working in the field, what they suggest is, of course, this type of experimentation and the simulation can help us to reduce the catastrophic outcomes in accidents, right? But it will be really impossible to design a battery for time being with the material what is like maybe with the time if somebody comes up with a very good material or a novel material, they can design a battery which is 100% risk free. For example, nowadays there are a lot of space exploration going on, and in future maybe 5 years or 15 years down the line, there is a company in UK which claim that they can do a space mining by 2025 or 2030. So if they can do that, you can get materials which are very strong materials and which have a better properties what we get on Earth. So maybe in those cases you can design some batteries which can be used for any kind of applications. So this is one way of looking at. This is my way of looking at this issue. And with this invention of new material, what happens is like as we discussed in the beginning also, the casing is a very important aspect because that is the point where the load enters inside your jelly roll or the chemical part of the lithium ion. So if the casing is perfect and it is flexible, it is more ductile, maybe some material if they can hold more load and all, then what happens? There is no question of this load getting transmitted inside these chemicals, and also what happens? The longevity of the electric vehicles automatically increases, and even with small collisions, it might not lead to catastrophe or even short circuiting or a blowout. So it is really important that somebody or like the researchers in the field or like you guys can take this another important question of coming up with a novel material where it can be used for the casing of the battery. So and uh, to make it more clearer, there are certain critical velocities in electric vehicle where the blowout happens, and this is a very bad thing, right, compared to conventional vehicle. So now this critical velocities are the velocities where this thermal runaway happens or where short circuit. So in one of the examples, say like if there is some impact or a side collision at 20 miles per hour, and if you are able to increase this thermal runaway threshold to 40 miles per hour, which is a great achievement in itself, right? Like 95% of the accident would be safe in comparison to other electric vehicles. Firm also, if you come up ideas. So, and this will, if we can come out with some in this aspect. So, what material to be used is still a great, very important thing because sometimes it was also free or a post. Even people who are sitting in the car, they died because of this thermal runaway. So safety, absolute safety is a very important thing in case of batteries, and that is where it restricts
Dear participants, there might be the network issue. In few minutes, I think speaker will join back. Sure, Kishan sir. Vinod Kumar, sir, we are taking down the queries. We will ask the speaker at the end of the session. So we have one query from B. Natarajan sir as well. And we will add your query.
Hello, Adarsh. Can you please
Yes.
allow me to share my screen?
Sure, sir. Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the network issue.
No problem.
That should be more stable actually. Okay, so yeah, this virtually the thinking of a battery, risk-free battery, will be definitely one of our agenda in upcoming years. And also, this is where like many top groups in the world are focusing more, and they're trying to uh, come up with something which is very novel and which is very reliable also. And this is another important topic, which is a demanding topic actually, I must say, where like and also in India, because the electric vehicle is upcoming field, and here somebody can put a good lab and they can start making good money also. Okay, so uh, the main factors which lead to the internal short of batteries during vehicle impact, according to many literature survey, I concluded that how to design battery packs and vehicle structure are very important to minimize the risk of thermal runaway in case of impact or a crash. So this is one important internal factor during a vehicle collision. And another important thing is like we should be able to measure from these experiments and with the simulation that how much deformation is like tolerable before it reaches to a threshold where this thermal runaway or internal short circuit happens. So this again calls for a rigorous research and laboratory experiments. And to make sure that these vehicle crashes are inevitable, the battery packs are also damaged of a crash. So we have to come up with a casing technique where this, even though with a crash, again, it should not lead to a blowout or a catastrophe kind of thing. So, as I told earlier, let's discuss something about static experimental thing, and later we will move towards serious impact testing thingy. So, in few experiments which were performed in laboratory, they have used different indentation indents, which are hemispherical, and some kind of a indenter which is sharp. Like this is the sharp one, and all the three are hemispherical. There are also example where they have used a flat one as well. So the three hemispherical were used for understanding more like a distributed kind of load, and the intent was more focused on one particular location, and compared to all the four, the flat one was more promising because if you see a example here where they have just removed the heads of the battery and okay, one thing what you have to understand here is all these experiments what they performed, they made sure that it was like they had the battery was 90 to 95% discharged. This is very important, or else it leads to blowouts. And another important aspect, what you have to notice here is, in particularly this application of flat kind of a indenter on this batteries, there is a hole in the center, and when continuous application, this hole it just disappears. And in the fourth figure, if you pay attention, you can see that this continuous application of load leads to kind of delamination, and the delamination is the main reason for the failure. And why delamination occurs? Initially, before they started this kind of experiment, the researchers in the field always they were thinking that the batteries are more isotropic in nature. But paying attention to their geometry, the load distribution is not isotropic; it is anisotropic, and the delamination is mainly because of this anisotropic phenomenon. So the load experienced in the hoop direction is completely different in comparison to the load experienced on the surface of the battery and even on the bottom of the battery. Whereas the hoop stress angle or a cylindrical angle, like if you see this angle, the load distribution is quite different. So which makes it anisotropy, and this leads to kind of a short circuiting and all those stuff happens when there is delamination. So it is very important to design a battery where this kind of delamination process is well under control. So this is one, as we discussed in previous slides, like the smallest building block which you have to concentrate for making sure that the reliability of the batteries keeps increasing. So this is one particular takeaway from this experiments published work where they concluded that uh, concentrating on the smallest building block and how the layers inside this lithium ion battery behaves while the application of the load, and how in static application it leads to delamination. These were very well characterized in this experiment. And when again another parametric work what they did during this particular published work was they tried to compare different shapes or different sizes of the batteries, and it was very interesting to see that the small and large cells behavior when the crosshead was attached to them is quite similar in comparison to medium cell. And whereas when we talk about the stress condition, again the stress conditions, the median cell showed a very good like it absorbed more stress in comparison with less deformation in comparison to small and large cell. So the large cell it showed more drastic changes with application or increase of the stress, and the small cell was stable, but the middle cell looks to be more promising. So this was another interesting takeaway from this work. So uh, what they did was they just started experimenting only the medium cell, and in medium pouch cell, if you pay attention, like there was very interesting comparison between force and displacement and temperature and voltage. And when there is like you can see a linear increment in the load with respect to time, and at the time when there is failure happening, so at that time, if you compare this temperature versus voltage graph, you can see that the temperature just drops, right? Sorry, the voltage drops and the temperature increases. So these two particular things were also observed with respect to variation in the load. And this particular setup, you can see how they have tried to measure the variation in the voltage and the temperature. So comparing among these indents, like which we showed in the previous slide, so you can see the flat one suddenly it increases the load with less displacement, whereas with larger hemispherical, medium hemispherical indenter and small hemispherical indenter, the deformation is a little bit long with the application of the load. And with conical, there is no rise in the load itself. So it is very important to design your experiment in a way like it serves your purpose. So from this, the main takeaway, what you can see is the flat indenter is more promising in comparison to all the other indenters. And this, and also instead of using a hemispherical or a conical, it is better to use a indenter which is kind of a V in shape. So that is also another reliability, but this is something which is not related to what I'm discussing here. So as I mentioned earlier regarding the scaling, so here you can see a battery which has a, if you consider it as a micro scale, we're interested in understanding what happens at the smaller scale. So now it is important to come up with one mathematical model or a constitutive equation where we try to understand how the battery jelly behaves while in case of a compression, in case of a tension, and in case of shear. So tension in XX and explain in Y plane Y direction. So this is really important, and how the stress and strain behave. We also need to understand with respect to variation in the volume of the jelly inside this battery. So in one of the work, they come up with this equation for understanding the loading being experienced at this particular point, and they try to understand the force and like the ratio of force and volume in each particular direction, how it varies, and how it can be taken into a condition of loading, which is required for performing the simulations. So still again, developing a constitutive equation is again an open area of research in this area. So these are different failure criterions at various loading scenarios, just for your understanding, where they have performed simulations and they try to show how the failure takes place in a pure shear compression condition, and how this, in case of pure tension, how the failure occurs at the interfaces. And here you can see they are trying to apply the compression and the tension at equal loads, and it completely leads to kind of a crushing phenomenon. And in other phenomena, they have tried to increase the, and it showed more stability when compared to the compression thing equal to tension. And here it was reversed. Here the tension is constant and the compression was increased. Again, it is more stable in comparison to the first case. So these are just a few of the simulation things for your understanding. So as I told earlier, the very important compression test which the researchers in the field came up with was like pressing a sample in between two plates and then applying a indent on a battery as shown in the figure. So let's take the first case where the plate was applied, and they tried to make a comparison between the experimentation and the simulation. So the simulation showed a very different behavior in respect to the experiment. So this is quite worrying problem. If we are not able to come up with a model which satisfies our experimental thing, then it's a problem. And in case of indentation kind of thing, where it was more like a concentrated kind of load. So this particular experiment was kind of applying a punch on this battery, and then they try to compare the uh, force with respect to the cover set, and they see how the experiment and simulation matched. Here it is comparatively better. It showed a good agreement with the experiment. So this is how you have to make sure that your experiments and computation are mimicking the reality, which we discussed in the introduction slide, which becomes really important for this kind of work. So once it is done, then you can go ahead and you can even try to apply the combination of loading and try to make the model more complex and create different situations and come up with more reliable solutions. So this is another like some CT scan image of how the delamination gave rise to the failure under this punch and how the failure occurred. And the similar thing was also tried to model in finite element mode. So this gives one confidence that okay, whatever you are doing is correct and you are in the right path. So another important thing in batteries which are mounted at the base is like when there is an object or a kind of armor inside underneath the road which hits this battery, how this battery behaves. So mainly the casing, how it behaves. So this was like one of the simulation where they try to come up with a 3D thing and they try to perform like they stack the battery in the center and they give a mechanical properties for the casing top and bottom and this particular indent they consider it as like an impact kind of thing or a static impact kind of phenomena and they try to understand how well this particular vehicle casing behaves when it comes in contact with this indent. And it was interesting to see that they compared three different phenomena where in the case one, you can see that the stress felt or the variation in the stress is more uniform in the bottom of the upper layer. In case of second one, it is more, and in third one, uh, it has completely broken into pieces. So this simulations also gives you a kind of confidence of how to design a casing for a battery in a sense that it absorbs more energy with less damage to the battery in the center. So this, whatever we have discussed is more with respect to the static and now let's move to the dynamic case. Here in dynamic case, again a battery was taken and this is the cross reference for this one. And this, you can see this scanning electron microscope image of this battery and the pigment layer. They have taken one particular region and they have zoomed here and they have shown the layers, the cathode, the anode, and the separator here. And even at this particular layer, they also try to perform a CT scan and along with the SEM, and they even try to give you a more clear picture about how the layer, cathode, anode, and the separator looks like. So along with that, you can see which layer is cathode active and the aluminum separator, and afterwards the anode active. All these things are clearly shown here for your understanding. So this is how the battery looks like, which they have taken for the experiment. So the similar battery, like in this particular experiment, initially they tested a single battery, and then they applied, they took another like two batteries, and even for that also they tested with this experiment, this projectile. So mainly, they have made sure that this particular test battery which they use for testing was assembled very safely, and this is very important for the experiment also. the measurements of this battery showed a thickness of anode assembly of 150 micron meter on the scanning electron microscope units, and the cathode assembly of 240 microns meter thick. And even the anode assembly of the copper coil was 30 micron meter thick. So which was sandwiched between a graphite layer, which is 60 micron meter thick. So, and again, in case of cathode assembly, two polymer separators are included, and which each has 35 micrometer thick, and then two lithium oxide layers, and finally aluminum foil from the CT scan image is visible. So it is like the aluminum pouch layer is 120 micrometer thick, was used in this current experiment. And here, what happens is like this particular bullet, what has been shown here, projectile, will be uh, pierced through this battery. So initially, what they did was they take this kind of a projectile, which is called as a parabolum. So, and this particular parabolum is sent through this battery, and they try to measure the velocity before entering and after entering. So the variation in the velocity before and after will help them understand the kind of force experienced by the battery. And in this case, it was seen that the projectile were accelerated by gunpowder located 7 meter in front of the catch box. Like this is the setup where this is a sample, and here they have kept the sample, and this is the high-speed camera which they have used to record the phenomena, and from here they have shot the project. So, and they have made sure that the distance is sufficient for the stabilization of this projectile trajectory, which is very important to ensure that the moment of impact, the project is perpendicular to the target. It is very important to make sure that it is perpendicular, or else we get a different damage, and it is difficult to compare the results. So we have to make sure that when the projectile is shot against this battery, it is perpendicular. And to avoid the thermal runaway, the battery was again discharged here before the experimentation. The discharged batteries are here were tested in two configurations. One is like they have taken one single battery and they have tested, and the projectile was shot of this, and later they have stacked two batteries, and then the projectile was shot. So the impact velocity is the total impact velocity is measured by light barrier, and this particular thing was tracked with the high-speed camera, and they make sure that this particular camera has a exposure time of 125 nanosecond with a resolution of 312 and 260 pixel. So it's a costly camera, and which helps you to understand how the propagation has taken place inside this bodies. The reduction of the bullet impact velocity is not larger than 5% in case of single battery, and in case of stacked batteries, they say that they saw a reduction of 8%. While the bullet passes through this battery tears and it punctures the pocket of that. You can see here. So it just goes inside, and here you have to see in this direction, which is incremental direction. So this is the point where it started hitting, and it entered certain distance, and then it started exiting, and it is completely. So Yeah. So here again you can see how the parting of this particular sample happened after the exit of the proton. And we can see that small pieces of the layers and active material borders and the nuclear particles are all ejected like a cloud. Right? You can see. So, which are around the bullet. Now, the mass loss for a single battery is about 2 kg. That is what they observed after they compared with untested battery. And also, in case of two battery systems, they observed a loss of 1.5 gram. So, this was one of the important takeaways from this experiment. And whatever I just mentioned, this is just a comparison of how the velocity varies, a single and two-stack batteries, and how the mass of the electrolyte changes. So this is what we observed from experiment performed on a single and multi-stage battery. So here again, you can see the fractography images of the perforation, how when it enters for a single battery, how it looks, and when the exit, how it looks. In case of the test 2, you can see the damage is not that high comparatively because of the reduction in the velocity of this projectile. So here again we see that when they stack the batteries and perform the experiment, this is how the entry looks and the exit looks for a first battery, and for the second battery, this is how the damage looks. So in case of test 2, again, uh, here the damage is very more in entry compared to the exit, and here you can see that the damage is less, and looks like the material and the electrolyte ejected is also less in this particular case. So what they did was like they just took out this sample and they performed a CT scan imaging of this particular probe sample, and you can see that the middle cross section of the perforated battery shows something around. Okay, I think here the important thing what you have to understand here is how the projectile entered inside this the direction of the projectile. And this particular CT scanner what we use, it has a voxel size of 27 micrometer, and they predicted from the tomography that the strong delamination and of internal battery structure can, and detachment of anodes and cathode layers assemblies are also seen. The projectile passing through this laminated areas compositely shared the subsequent layers, even leading their separations as well. So from the image, we can see that the individual battery components, mainly the anode and cathode and separator, along with the metallic coil there, and active materials are not depicted, but the cathode and anode assemblies are clearly visible. From the structural point of view, the batteries may be considered as weak composites consisting of layers of foils and separators, including the sandwich, graphite, and metal oxide particles. So since there is no adhesive between the layers of cathode and the separator assemblies, the CT conclusions were performed. So this shows how the drilling of this particular layer takes place here when the projectile passes at these locations. So this is just one example which I'm taken from this paper where they have performed some simulation using LS-DYNA. So this is how the model looks, and when the indenter hits this particular thing, how like one indenter landing on this battery has been shown here. So we have tried to compare the projectile velocities with respect to time for two particular cases. So in first approach, you don't see this kind of severe damages. The damage is more neat and clean here. So and the displacement in second approach is very high, and which is very close to what we observed in the previous slides from the experiments. So when they try to compare the perforations done from the experiment with the simulation, it is almost close to what the experiment showed us. So here you can also see that they have compared the simulation perforation channels with respect to the CT scan images, and which is almost close to what we saw in experiment. So this model has tried to show very clearly like how the reality can be made. So now if you try to understand what happened when the projectile entered this battery, like throughout the phenomena, like what happened when it entered one and how it exited, and what really happened when this projectile velocity, with respect to time and the battery thickness. So if you see here, when the projectile entered, so the velocity started decreasing drastically and the displacement is gradual. Whereas in case of thickness, the thickness initially is more stationary and then it started increasing. And at particular location, you can see that there is a transition and there is a sudden increase and again it becomes stabilized. So if you try to understand how the energy varied at this particular location, we can see that the internal energy of the pocket increased at this particular location, and similarly the energy how it varied in a different jelly part of lithium-ion batteries can be seen here. Like they try to perform simulation for each and every layer and try to see how the energy varies with respect to time. So the pouch is the important thing which we need to understand. The remaining are more, the properties are more close to each other. And in case of measuring kinetic energy variation, again, the pouch showed initial resistance and then it just gave up. So the similar thing can be observed in this particular thing also, where this corresponds to like this particular study corresponds to till here, and this study corresponds till this zone, and this corresponds till this zone. So here you can see that volatile energy started decreasing with time. So this is one particular figure where we try to understand the battery perforations and how in time steps, mainly on thickness, how the damage takes place. So to summarize my talk, so I feel the understanding the crash response is very important compared to sticking with the classic static experiment, and this will really help to redesign the battery for worst conditions and improve the reliability. So the novelty is mainly about performing experiment which is more close to what we see in the real world. So mainly combining of the load, like mainly combining compression shear and tensile load on the battery is another important thing. And also we try to develop a model to mimic this experimental observation. This plays a very critical role because we can understand some of the critical things which cannot be understood even in the experiment also. For example, in the previous slide, you can even see like how each layer of anode and a separator behave with respect to the uh, projectile entering and exit. Whereas when it comes to experiment, these observations are a little bit tricky because of the limitation in what the measurements we do in the real world. So because of that, developing a computational tool which really mimics this experimentation will be a key for designing a reliable pattern. And of course, protective design of the plate is another important thing which need to be thought about for reducing the damage of the battery and improving its longevity and reduce the stress or risk to the owner. So with this, I would like to conclude my talk and thank you for your patience. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, please ask. I think Ramakrishna sir, yesterday in the second session, you asked a question about the battery impact. So today, your query has been resolved, I think. Ramakrishna sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other queries?
Any open source softwares are available for analysis?
When you say open source, and there is one tool called Frank 2D or Frank 3D from the Cornell Fracture Group. So you can try to model the same thing in that particular software.
Yeah, especially for the students to have some say first-hand information.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there is Frank 2D. Just Frank in the sense it is FRANC.
Okay.
So it is fracture analysis code. So it is a free software. Anybody can use that.
Okay.
But the main limitation of the software is like you have to be a little bit aware of the number of nodes and mesh what you generate. So and with that you can play around. But again, I think it is a good software, and the particular software will only help you to understand the crack propagation,
Okay.
like damage, all those stuff.
Okay.
Serves the purpose. And also one more thing to conclude is like it can be applied to planar samples. Like the batteries especially can be a good fit for them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, we also have few questions in the chat section. I'll take one by one.
Yeah.
So first question is from V. Natarajan. So the question is there any possibility of wind turbine implementation in electric vehicles? Natarajan sir, if you are available, please you can unmute and clarify the question. Natarajan sir? Okay, so Manjunath sir, can you make out with the question? Is there any possibility of wind turbine implementation in the electric vehicle?
I think that is a little bit off from what the expertise what I have, but
Okay.
maybe, I don't know.
Yes, yes. Okay. So then, second question we have, if we look forward from Vinod Kumar, if we look forward into lithium sulfur and lithium air batteries, can we overcome this short circuit issue? And are they safe?
Okay, there is one more thing which is coming in the market called sodium ion. I don't know if you guys are aware of. So the one company in China, they're coming up with this. They're telling they're like challenging actually that they will come up with commercial sodium ion battery. So maybe this will be a total game changer if they can do it, and it can overcome all the disadvantages of what we had with the lithium ion. Because again, to be frank with everybody, the main motive of developing lithium ion battery was to reduce the carbon footprints in the global this thing. But again, if when we want lithium and on again, the lithium we are getting from mining, right? So again, we are putting stress on mining, which is nothing but again we are going back and we are again doing the same thing or the same mistake. So it leads to global warming. So sodium ion definitely it's many researchers in the field feel that is the future. So still, again, commercializing is a big task because we have to overcome all the drawbacks what we have in lithium ion. But still, I think very few literatures are available on this particular other type of lithium ion thing what you just discussed. So we have to perform experiments, and then only I think we will be in a stage to understand whether it can reduce this phenomenon of thermal runaway.
Okay. Vinod sir, I think Dr. Manjunath sir answered your question. Next, we have K. Yuvraj asking, since many products available in China at low cost, including batteries, so are they safe? That is the question. I think we all should be concerned about it. Manjunath sir?
Yeah. So whatever it is, again, we have to take the spec sheet. We have to go through that spec sheet and we have to understand it clearly. Like we should know what we are buying, right? So we have to make sure that we have that knowledge of understanding the specs what they have provided, and then I think based on that we can decide whether to buy it or not.
Okay. So we had another question, but I think you answered that in the previous one. What are the advantages and disadvantages of lithium batteries by Prashant Kumar sir? Okay, so that's been answered. So Manjunath sir, I have one query. Like, is there any policies in place for EV manufacturing companies, like the type of batteries they should use, from where they should acquire that battery? So is there any policy right now in India?
Actually, the policymakers have asked, like we work in Energy Institute, right? So the policymakers have reached out. Like few of my colleagues, they are working on this in the sense like you need to get the data, right? So right now they are in one place where they're writing this report. Okay. So still it is a developing thing because the policymakers need input from the experts in the field, right? So still in India, no big player has come and put big money in India where they have gone for a full-fledged EV vehicle. So like if you talk like a company as a country like Germany, I think they are full into EVs, but not India. So the policymaker definitely they're looking into this angle. So still they're collecting data actually.
Okay.
Not only what we say like your bad design of battery and all. Now once the electric vehicle thing come on road, other important thing what we have to think about is like we have to replace our like we need to recharge the electric vehicle, right? We need that recharge stations. So there is in this policy they are also trying to fix this recharge stations and all. So that is also it is a very big task actually. So still there is no clear answer for this, but still a lot of experts in the field feel that they have to come up with the proper policies before they actually go for a full-fledged EV thing.
Yes. So the reason of bringing up this question is recently Ola announced a huge number of bookings for its electric vehicle, that is two-wheeler. So, okay. So now I have another query, like if someone wants to set up a charging station, let's say like a startup, so what path he or she should follow to achieve it, or is it like a tender calling just like for petrol pumps, or it's still in the infant stage?
No, it is still in the infant stage because the policymakers needs to get input from the experts in the field. That is what I told. Because
So
I'll
even
tell
for
you,
charging stations?
yeah, even for charging station. I'll tell you an example. Like when I was in Israel, I met one guy who was from Germany, and he was in electric vehicle field. So he was telling in 2007 or 6 in Germany, somebody came up with this idea of a rechargeable station in 2006. Imagine. So at that time, nobody supported him, even though it was a good thought. Everything was nice, but they didn't support him because that was not the priority of the country that time. Okay, the policies keep changing with respect to the priority of the nation. Right? So because of that, you don't know, and again, the guidelines are not clear right now. So they will. I think Nitin Gadkari may be doing something like this for that Mumbai to Pune highway, and then they're planning to make it something big. So they will do some kind of a pilot test in some particular region, and then they will try to copy the model for the entire country. So again, we don't have a clarity on this yet. So we have to look forward because the policy makers have to pitch the policy to the Niti Aayog and they will frame the policies. Yeah.
So in continuation with the previous one, is it better to dive into this industry before policies come into place, or the startups have to wait?
Given current situation, definitely the policymakers will make sure that the policies will be suitable for EV. Because if you take the big picture, we have signed this Paris Agreement law and all thing and all. So what happens is we have to reduce the temperature of the earth, right, in coming 10-15 years. So definitely they will be giving a lot of subsidies and a lot of encouragement for the EV to come in Indian market. So yeah, startup companies have to definitely think seriously about this. That is what I said, because within a year it will be framed. Like within maybe like January, March, I think it should be available online, according to my knowledge. Okay. And also in Bangalore, I heard that there is a big player who is coming into picture. He's planning to put a EV thing, which is like a 30,000 crore investment. And he is expecting a profit of 2 lakh crore. That is what is claiming. So yeah, like I think if see, there are many things, and we academicians we sit in some corner and we are chit chatting, and industry people know the answer to this much better than we academicians.
Yes. So will this lead to an increase in demand of electricity, and finally the price of electricity per unit, what we are paying today? With your experience, by how many folds it may increase in another 5 to 10 years?
That I really cannot comment because it is a little bit off from my expertise.
Okay,
so
okay.
I cannot comment.
Sure. All right. So I think we can end the session. If participants, if you don't have any more questions to ask, we can move on for photo session. Okay, so I request all the participants to please switch on the camera so that we can take the screenshot. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr.
thank you.
GL Manjunath, sir. It was a
Thank
very
you so much.
great session.
Thank you
I
so much
hope.
for, thank you so much. And thank you for giving this platform. I will
Sure,
keep in touch.
Sure, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, sir. So, dear participants, by this we have come to the end of session 1 of day 5. In the second session, we will be joined by Mrs. Nikita C. She is the CEO and co-founder of an organization called SSCRD. So she will be shedding some light of using electricity in aerospace applications. So we will meet at 11:30. So I think feedback links are provided in the chat box. And regarding the materials or the presentation material from the speaker, we are in touch with them. So few speakers, they asked us to wait for few months because they are publishing those results in some journals. So they don't want that to come out early. But whenever we receive the nod from present speaker, we will be sharing with you. Even after 1 or 2 months, we have all your emails. So please bear with us, and definitely anything extra is there, we will also be sharing that. Right. And today afternoon we have planned for end term test from 2:30 to 3:30, 1 hour. It will be of MCQ type. And don't worry, what all the materials you have available, only from those materials only questions will be asked. And those who are present in the session, okay, I think few questions were, it will be easy, right? Not that difficult. And 1 hour time will be given, 25 MCQ questions will be there. So, right. Any query regarding the end term test? Okay. So, and then it is followed by valedictory session by 3:30. 3:30 to 4, we will have the final valedictory session. So please, I request all the participants to participate in that so that we give a meaningful end. Yeah, and to this 5-day faculty development program. And Amit ji, definitely all the sessions will be available on YouTube, right? All the sessions are recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube. It may take 1 or 2 days, but definitely it will be uploaded. And again, the links are provided to you to your email address and on WhatsApp as well. Sure, Yuvraj sir, all the sessions are recorded and you will get the YouTube link at the end of the session. Yes. Okay. Okay, dear participants, then we'll meet at 11:30 for the second session. Thank you all. Thank you.